welcome. I'm excited to have you all here. As you can see, we have boxes everywhere because we're about to move out of this building. We are going to be moving into the former Habitat for Humanity's building on Pleasant for the summer, end of spring into the summer, as this building goes through renovations, and we're excited, very excited about that. We have grown too fast, too much in the past 5-6 years, and we have purchased the church across the street, the Edge, former, it was a Seventh-day Adventist church before, and before that was a Christian Reformed church, and now it's coming down. So if you have any sentimental value, or the building has a sentimental value for you, just look at it and say goodbye. We hope that it had sentimental value for me. That was my church for about 10 years when I was raising my children. So I feel it's a full circle, right? Something to say about me before I go over my building is that in my organization is that I am very passionate about the work that we are going to be discussing here. I have been on both sides of the spectrum. 1999, I walked into a task force meeting, I can say that word, at GRCC. We were reapplying for a Michigan Works grant, and that was a multi-million grant that GRCC held for multiple years, and I had the pleasure of being introduced to that environment at that age. I had been, prior to that, involved with the engagement team at my university, where I actually was responsible for calling donors and potential investors to come to the university and invest their time, their money, and their resources. And then I arrived to the DeVos Family Foundation. So I have been on the receiving end, on the application end, and I have also been part of the approval end of things. No, I cannot tell you what the trick is to get money from the DeVosses, because I signed an NDA that prevents me from saying anything about that. But I can tell you that there are 2 different branches at the foundation. One of them is for main grants, which is what you see everywhere where their name is located. Many things that they actually have given money like to use their name for places, but the things that they own will not have their name. And so that's why you do not know that they own more than half of downtown Grand Rapids. Or maybe you imagine that. And then we had the small portion, small grants that went all the way to about 30K. And I was actually for about 8 years responsible for approving those. So very exciting, very beautiful work. And now I am here and I'm excited about what I'm about to show you. This is the Hispanic Center of Western Michigan. The original building was actually about half of this building. It was a firehouse, as you can see. The pole, everyone wants to know for some reason about the pole. It was over there. And yes, someone died trying to jump into the pole. They missed it, went down. We call him Bob, and we believe he's still here somewhere. The Hispanic Center of Western Michigan actually started at GRPS, Grand Rapids Community College Grand Rapids Public Schools, under the supervision of Roberto Sáenz. If any of you have any history of leadership here in Grand Rapids, you will know who Roberto Sáenz is. If you do not know who Roberto Sáenz is, it means that maybe you have not been involved in any education, related issues. But Roberto Sáenz, alongside 3 other individuals, started the Hispanic Center. It evolved. They purchased this building for $1. Wow. Back in the day. And the building, once they moved in, they quickly realized that the building needed help. Moved to the Santa Maria Clinic, today's Trinity Clinic here down the street. People still call it Santa Maria, but they have changed the name to Trinity. We were there for, I want to say, 3 years or so, while this building suffered renovations, and then we moved here. That was over 20 years ago. Yes?
Just to let you know, I stand on the neighborhood association here in Roosevelt Park to help fundraise you guys back.
Oh, I love it.
Here,
Love
so
it.
just on back to me being old.
But the connections are there, and I love
They
it,
are,
right?
he's on the field.
Yeah, and so Roosevelt now, the neighborhood association is down the street here, and the person who's leading it now is a former employee of the center. So we're all connected. That happens in 1978. So we are about to celebrate our 50th anniversary. What started out with about 4 people today is a team of 32. We are located into, like I said, we don't fit in this building. We are spread out into 3 different buildings. This is our main location. We rent a space on 401, which is the building down the street here. And we have La Escuelita, it's our preschool, nearby Division, off of Division on 50 Antoine Southwest. The goal is that eventually we will all be in one building, because when that church comes down, we are about to build a hub of 3 floors where we're gonna host all of our programming, including our preschool and a daycare. So we are super excited about that. We offer multiple services. I'm just gonna tell you the ones that are well known. We have a family support services. It's a full department that can help individuals anywhere from applying for SNAP benefits all the way to actually filing for divorce. We do a little bit of everything. We host a food distribution thanks to a donation from a Methodist Hispanic church every last Tuesday of the month. And so if you ever have to come by on a Tuesday, the last Tuesday of the month, avoid it, because the line goes all the way down to Clyde Park and beyond. So, and that's just the cars. Here we have the walkers, as we call them, and sometimes they go around the corner. We also provide senior food boxes. We have a civil rights advocacy team that we hope that very soon becomes a DOJ team. So we are hoping to have to be certified DOJ location. And we have a language services department where you can actually get, depending on how much time you give us, we can translate to up to 80 languages that have been pre-scheduled, and on demand, I believe it's over 100. Don't quote me on that, because I need to check with language services, but the demand part, the other part is fully confirmed. We have a school liaison. Right now, her responsibility is all over Kent County. We have parents that come with concerns about, registration, behavior, IEPs. As a former educator myself, I know the struggles that parents can go through when they want to, find the best resources for their children. So we want to help our families navigate those sometimes intricate situations. So the school liaison has been doing a great job. And again, right now, about 2 weeks ago, she was working at Ellisville Middle School, which is, a school that if you don't live in that area, no one knows who they are, because we're so familiar with GRPS and Forest Hills and, Godwin. But she's going all over the county to help our parents. Job search and resume writing with the Workforce Development Department is also available. We offer digital literacy classes, and every year we offer a summer youth program. And we have La Escuelita, like I said, it's a bilingual preschool, very soon to be called El Nido. We are about to change some of our branding, and that will be the new name for La Escuelita. And for those of you that do not speak Spanish, the nido means the nest. Our logo will be changing soon, and the main character of our logo will be a colibri, or a hummingbird. And the hummingbird is a representation of who we are, because the hummingbird migrates constantly, and so we are a group of migrants, or immigrants. So events that you might know that are hosted by us, I think the main one, can you go back for a second? That is the main one, right there. That's the Hispanic Festival that takes place every year. Now in the month of October, it used to be in November, during the Hispanic Heritage Month. but now we hosted the first weekend of October, August. So the events, again, the main one, the Hispanic Festival, that's the one everyone knows. What you might not know is that we also host Fiesta in Grand Haven. It's the Hispanic Festival at Grand Haven by the river, where the fountain is. We host a Coke distribution every November. Last year, we were able to give away about 900 Cokes. So it was a very fruitful, and actually the person responsible for that is sitting over there, so I cannot bother him, but great job. We also host a toy distribution first week of December. So first or second week, depending on availability. We have been doing that at GRPS, Southwest Community High School. Because as you can tell, we don't fit in this building, so we cannot fit the many parents that come to get toys from us. We also host the Latinx Youth Conference. This is when we bring 8th graders from all over the county into the Fort Field House at GRCC. It brings good memories because I was part of the very first group and task force who actually launched the Latino, back then, Latino Youth Conference. We first did it with high schoolers, and then data showed us that the high schoolers were not our real target. We needed to go down to 8th graders. Today, the data actually points at 5th graders, but we are not going to do that. Yes?
For the Coke and the toy distribution.
Yes.
Do you have, who are the recipients? Are they just,
We start promoting it to everyone.
Okay.
It's not just Latinos. We just start promoting it, yes. Yeah, we promote it, to everyone, and if you get there, we're not looking at who you are, we just are looking at, do you have kids? We'll give you codes, right? Yes.
I was wondering, the services that you provide, are they just to Latinos in the community, or is it to anyone?
No, it's to anyone.
And then
Anyone that comes here will receive services as long as we're able to. Yes.
Okay, and then also, do you help with like child custody? Because I know you said you help with some legal stuff.
Yes.
You do?
So we have, as of now, all we're doing is advocacy.
Okay.
And if the issue is to fill out documentation with the court system, yes, we can help with that.
Thank you.
But coming up, we'll be able to actually do a little bit more, like offer more legal advice, all the way to court. We will not be able to represent anyone in court.
So you guys are kind of like legal aid?
Not yet.
We
are
getting there?
advocacy.
Okay.
Yes, yes, but we are getting there, yes,
Okay.
because to have a legal, so a Justice Department, we need individuals who are certified.
Right.
And so you need to meet a certain criteria. We are working currently with a lawyer, the same person who has also opened DOJ offices in, I think she opened one in Muskegon. The name escapes me. And now she's helping us to do the same. So we hope that within a year, we're able to say that we are
paid
certified.
for any other services?
Actually, very heavily discounted. And depending on the person, sometimes, most recently, the person didn't have the money. Sometimes we cover it. If it's something, like less than $100, we try to.
Am I last word?
Yes, no, please, by all means.
Because I've worked with the veterans organization, a lot of like might need that type of help. They may not, fully have enough money for the fees or whatever. So that's why I was kind of wondering.
Yeah, no, right now we are in the process of applying, well, we're always in the process of applying, but in the process of applying for emergency funds.
Okay.
Because as of 2025, I don't know if you have noticed, but we are, immigration cases have spiked. Not that anyone has witnessed, like I said. So we're trying to find money everywhere we can. Right now, to be honest, what I have been relying on is donations from individuals that I know. I just pick up the phone and say, I need $600 by the end of the day. And then I would praise God, because by the end of the day, I get what I need. But it's all about connections, right?
Yeah.
So if you don't have the connections, so I cannot say that will happen every time, because we depend heavily on donations for those type of situations.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but we will keep everyone informed once we become certified and we're able to provide services. Dia del Niño is actually coming up this Friday. This is a celebration that is heavily famous in Latin America. We celebrate children, and on that day, in some countries we have carnivals, and people go out and have fun with their children. There's no school on that day, and here at the Hispanic Center, we are going to celebrate that this Friday, starting, I believe, at 3:30. So if you would like to come and volunteer, please stay at the end of the training today, and I can give you some info. But we're expecting about 800 children, so we're excited about that. Yeah. And we're about to celebrate, like I said, our 50th anniversary. So when that happens, I will let you know. But it will be in 2028, and we hope that the celebration makes enough noise for the city to not be able to ignore who we are. We're gonna end right there. Okay. I'm trying to put my glasses. I can't. I'm getting to that age where if I don't have glasses, I can't do this. Okay. So it is a pleasure to introduce our trainers for the day. We have Trish Okolo, and Trish is a development and operations coordinator at Treetops Collective. She holds a master's degree in philanthropy and nonprofit leadership from GVSU. She specializes in grant writing, fundraising events, donor relations, hiring, onboarding, and professional development all aimed at fostering organizational growth and community impact. Welcome, Trish. Nice meeting you. Tricia. Tricia Smith-Mulder began her professional journey in the financial service sector, earning a bachelor's degree in business administration from GVSU and an MBA from Cornerstone University. Go Cornerstone, see you. In 2011, she shifted her focus to youth advocacy, taking on the director level role at the Gerald Ford Job Corps Center. Ooh, you know Patrick Pullman then. Where she spent 7 years supporting disadvantaged youth ages 16 to 24. During this time, she discovered a passion for grant writing, and after leaving Job Corps in 2018, an unexpected meeting with a former colleague led to her founding River City Grant Writing. Today, Tricia enjoys traveling with her husband, John, and while her 3 daughters have all left the nest, she now fills her home with an ever-growing collection of houseplants. I love that. We need to talk because I kill even the plastic ones. Love it. Welcome all, and I'll be around if you have any questions at the end of the training. We are so excited to have you, and we hope you know that we are allies in your efforts, and we welcome your allyship as well. So thank you.
Okay, so now I'm talking about the cultural differences in storytelling. Because right now, storytelling has kind of changed, and storytelling depends right now. Different cultures have different ways they tell their story. So we need to start from this because as immigrants, we are from different parts of the world, and we have like different ways we tell stories. But right now, we are in the United States, and we need to align with what the donors want if we really need that money.
Yeah.
Like most times our storytelling is really shaped by maybe our culture. Like I'm originally from Nigeria. And in Nigeria I was also a grant writer, and most of our grants was more like emotional stories. We tell stories so that the donor will kind of have pity on us and say, oh, we're gonna give them this money. And different cultures have like different ways they tell their stories. But right now, most funders expect data. They need numbers. They need to see what you've done. They need to see your impact when telling your story.
Faye, can you hear us now? Can other folks online hear us okay?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Thank you. Sorry, Trish, thank you.
Okay, can I just repeat?
Yeah, please.
Okay. Yeah, like different cultures have different ways they tell their stories. I'm originally from Nigeria, and in Nigeria, when I was writing grants, We kind of write stories that is much more emotionally. We don't really like talk about numbers or just say, oh, there's a woman out there, she's poor, she needs money. We don't talk about what we've done. We don't talk about the impact. But in the United States right now, what they really want to see, they want to see your numbers. Tell me stories, tell me the impact, tell me your results. Tell me the numbers of people you've impacted with your project and your programs. And yeah, that's the US culture right now. Next, please. And now, why cultural differences matters? For you, you may feel like this, my story is perfect, and when a donor sees this story, he will have pity on us and he will help the people we serve. But most times it can, for some donors, maybe they will say, okay, maybe we'll think about it, but I doubt if it can happen here in the US. Because there are a lot of people applying for SEM money. You're not the only one applying for that SEM money. And donors want to see, okay, we're giving this person this money, but what have they done? What's the result? What's their impact? Because I'm not seeing that here. I'd rather give someone that would have, say, maybe someone can say, oh, we impacted one person. They'd rather give someone that impacted one person than someone that says nothing, because the donors is not they're not in your office to see what you do. You alone can tell your story. They're out there, they're just reading your application. Sometimes they interview you. So it's good to always talking about your story, always like include your data, include your numbers, talk about the impact. That's why it's always good, like we had a training then on data collection. We'll touch a little bit about that, where you take you have to know, you have to take like your baseline information before you start your program and at the end of your program, so you can see what you're really doing. Okay, and also it helps you to kind of communicate effectively. When you know how donors over here in the United States read your proposal, because most time we need to align our proposal with what the donor is looking out for. Most times they state what they want, they list what they want. And you don't need to just start giving them generic answers. You need to read through, always go through step by step every information you see in the grant application. Don't just assume, and kind of align it with your values. Oh, this is what we do here, and this is what the donors is looking for. So you put your stories in connection to what they are looking out for. Don't just use same grant application for the same grant application for the same grant application to write your stories. But sometimes it may work sometimes because some questions are kind of maybe same programs, but try to align it with the questions. And now, how we naturally communicate. Most times, storytelling, normal stories we just tell. Based on relationships, you just talk like, okay, I have a relationship with this person, you just talk without giving data. Lived experiences, based on our lived experiences, we just talk about yourself, without like impact and all that. But what funders are looking out for, they're looking for data. They're looking for clear answers. Give me clear answers. Tell me what you've done. Measurable results. You have to have something. You have to be able to measure your. That's why it's always good to collect data. It's very, very important. It's good to have data. So you can. That's after this stuff, we'll have like a survey. With the survey, the welcome plan, we kind of measure. Oh, is this stuff successful or not? You need to have that in everything you do. So we must. So that in storytelling, we must combine both. You can't just say, I'll just tell a story and leave out the data. It's good to just combine story plus data, storytelling. Okay. In my own word right now, storytelling is the use of real human experiences to show the impact of your work. So when you're sharing your story through your grant writing, you're talking about the impact of your work. You're not just talking about what you do. What has your mission, what have your mission accomplished? What impact are you making in your community with your programs? It's not about just telling a story, but tell me what you've done. How many people are you impacted? What are they doing right now? What's the change in their life? What's the change in your community? Then it shows real life change. It's connect emotionally. Yes, because some stories really like, they're not our stories, because most times what we do kind of trying to solve problems. And most of them can be emotional, but you have to put that emotional story with your data. Not just saying, okay, we had this woman, we helped her with like a grant for her business, and what happened? When you gave her the grant for her business, what happened? Did her business grow? Did it change her family life? Did it change her life? Did it help her grow? So you need to include all that in your story. So storytelling is how we show the human side of our work. It answers the question, who is being impacted? So why storytelling alone is not enough? One story, one person. Emotional, but not measurable. Because you're just telling an emotional story, but how can we measure that story? How can we know you're doing something good? How do we know you're kind of impacting someone's life? Hard to prove impact. Sometimes you tell a story, you're really doing well at your work, you're doing so well, things are changing, but when you're writing your grant, you're just talking about, we are serving the Grand Rapids community. We provided food to this school. We provided money to this person. We supplied codes to this person. Tell us the numbers. Yeah. A story is powerful, but funders will ask, is this one person or is it happening to many people? So tell us the numbers. It's so good. The next slide. So how grant making has changed.
All right. Thank you, Trish. So Trish has already said the word data no less than 20 times. And if you're wondering, holy cow, how do I collect data effectively? We have a workshop for that. That was last year, available on the West Michigan Welcome Plan Collaborative's website. Her and I did it. We talk about how to collect data effectively, how in an age of increased ICE enforcement and things like that, how do you protect personally identifiable information and the integrity of your clients while also communicating the storytelling part of that data well. So that is available. We've already done it. Go please, I encourage you. It is a really well done, if I must say so myself, presentation. So a lot of questions came in before this presentation, and I'm going to try to hit on as many of them when I'm talking today as possible. Trish has already talked about one on how to communicate these stories without getting into the stereotypes. Before COVID, storytelling really focused on the need, anecdotal evidence, really kind of getting emotion going with that proposal. And then COVID came and everything was about meeting emergent needs that were popping up and just trying to plug the dam of hurt that was going on in this country. Post-COVID, funders wanted to know how you got through COVID and what you were planning to firm up your organization and how to move forward. Now, yet again, things have changed. So we've talked about 4 different trend cycles in just an 8-year time since I started doing this work. So it just goes to show you it's really important to understand that just because I wrote a grant 5 years ago means that proposal should be looking vastly different today. So, pre-COVID, a single story, I mean, I have a whole paragraph here, but the gist of it, you can read it later. The gist of it is, you wrote this wonderful story about 1 or 2 people that you served a couple of years ago and how you helped them and how they're doing now. There was no mention about the 900 coats you gave out. You just told the story of the Smith family and how their coats that they got helped them out because they wrote you a nice little Google review or something like that. Need statements were very broad. people are hurting, they're cold in the winter. There was no data to back up that. In the neighborhood we live in, 80% of the people are asset limited, income constrained households. So it was just people are hurting, they're cold, they need help, not the actual data to prove what you just said in the previous sentence. And that's where things start changing. Funders accepted imperfect data because everybody was responding to emergencies. It was really easy to get money circa 2020, 2021. Next slide, please. Post-COVID to 2025. Everybody talked about how they got through COVID. They were talking about what they were doing in their organizational structure to ensure that they were ready for the next disruption to happen. There was an emphasis on measurable outcomes, but it was more growth focused than actually showing what you had already done. There was a lot more attention starting to happen on what organizations were doing to reach vulnerable populations, ensuring that all populations or their target populations were being served equitably. More openness to stories about infrastructure, staffing, those were all changing. A lot of people changed how things were, they were doing operations post-COVID, and funders began to see the infrastructure and staffing and technology pieces. They began to see them as mission critical to help adapt to the next big change that was coming through. And then 2025 happened. We were just starting to get our feet under us, and then the next disruption happened. And it all became very quick about proving in an age of increased competition and reduced funding that the programs you were really doing were effective. And how do you prove effectiveness? That D, that four-letter word that starts with a D, data. And suddenly organizations that were not very good at collecting data and effectiveness of their programs found themselves very quickly falling behind. Those anecdotal stories about the impact of the Smith family and their coats didn't matter as much, because when you suddenly have twice as many applications as you did the previous year, and people are asking for twice as much money in those twice as many applications, you need to start, the first thing you're going to do is sort out the ones that can't prove what they're doing is effective.
Okay. Yeah, like I said earlier, grant writing is story plus data. Grant writing. Yeah. So story only, like for example, now Maria found support through our program. This is a nice story. She got the support she needed. But how do you know it was kind of successful? What did you do? So Maria, like 80% of participants secured stable employment after completing our program. You can see the data there. And I say, where you can get these numbers, you can't just assume. That's why it's good to collect data. So this is where your grant becomes strong. When your story represents a pattern, not just a moment. So data is information that shows what's changed because of your program. Examples, numbers of people served, how many people are you serving? You need to let them know the numbers. Percentage of successes, how many percent were successful? Outcome achieved. What is the outcome? So data answers the question, what changed? And how many people experienced that change? So right now we'll go to data collection practice. How can you collect this data? And before now, we've done a training on data, and I think when you scan the QR code, you kind of go through that training. It's really important for your grant writing. So sign-in sheets, really important. With sign-in sheets, you get to know how many people signed up for your program, how many people attended your program. Then surveys is really, really important. We usually have we have the pre-survey and the post-survey. Sometimes we do like the mid-survey. Because the mid-survey, why I love the mid-survey, you get to know whether you can kind of restructure your program or add more things or remove something. But the pre-survey is like no idea. Like pre-survey is like the first thing before they start editing. You just take like this particular survey to get an idea on their knowledge, or maybe, for example, like this grant writing that we're kind of coming for, like a pre-survey on your knowledge on grant writing. We say, oh, how well do you know storytelling? So we say, no idea. Exactly. No this. By the end of your training, how well do you know storytelling? Yeah, 80%. That's a big success. So that's something that's really kind of measured. The feedback forms, that's why it's good after each program. Feedback forms are really, really important. And sometimes it's good to add a story or a quote from your participants. You can share that in your grant applications. It's really good. The track outcome. So it's good to, and outcomes, most times, like what we do, I work at Treetops Collective. What we most times do, we take feedback, we take survey after the program, then we still take another survey 6 months after the program to see what are they doing after 6 months? After 1 year, what are they doing after 1 year? And with that, we don't just leave them to just go, we kind of follow up with them. And most time my grant writing, I said, this person went to this program 2 years ago, and right now, this is what they are doing. And in the long run, we are getting there. Then the key is to collect data regularly, not just when you need a grant. Because sometimes maybe you just see this grant application, you said, oh, we did this program, we need to reach out to the participant to get their data. It should be part of your program. When you're designing your program, it should be part of it. In your programs, you have your objectives of what is listed. You have what you need to do. You have objective, you have the outcomes you need to achieve at the end of your programs. With that, it can guide you on developing your survey questions. You want to achieve this, so your survey questions should be related to your objectives of your programs and all that. So at the end, you're able to see if. And sometimes it's not just for grants, it's also for the growth of the organization. You tend to see if this program is really useful or is really doing something. Do we need to change something? It's also help for decision making, not just for grants. Okay, we have a little activity to do. I don't know how, maybe work in group of 2 to 3 people. I don't know how you want to do it. I don't know how the online participants will do that. I don't know. Then you read the statements below. A woman joined our program and felt more confident. So this is like an assumption. So in your little group, you have to just write how many people experienced this, what's changed, can you add a number or percentage? So with this particular statement, just kind of write a story and the data. You can just guess. This not real. But
What's the best route to go with that?
yeah, it's good to add the chart, but some grants usually come with a template.
Okay.
And maybe in the part to write, there's no way you can put in a chart, but sometimes they have attachments where you can put in an attachment, the attachment of your chart. But if it's like a normal grant where you just need to write a full proposal, it's good to add your chart. Okay. That makes sense. I prefer reading charts than all the law.
Yeah, so many portals don't allow you in the actual section.
Okay.
But so many grants have the optional information attached here. Never leave the optional information blank. Put something there. And that's the perfect place to put a nice, pretty, colorful one-page PDF about all the wonderful things you're doing.
Always go what they're asking you to do.
Absolutely.
I mean, they'll give you that chart of things of what they want. Follow that to the T.
Yeah.
Because that's exactly what they're looking for. They're checking you off numbers on things that you haven't done that they asked for.
And I highly encourage you, if you've never been on the grant review side, do it.
Yes.
there's all kinds of opportunities with state grants and things like that to be able to be a grant reviewer. Sign up to be a grant reviewer sometime. I learned more the one time I did it than I did the previous 3 years I was writing grants.
We just had that too, so.
Yeah, absolutely. If you have an opportunity to be a grant reviewer, do it.
Documentation too would help a lot, like sign up sheet and survey, documentation.
Then you can just put everything like in one document, one PDF, which is in the optional part.
Sarah joined our literacy program. After a year, she and 85% of the program participants reported increased confidence in their language skills.
Nice.
That is a great way to tell Sarah and everybody else's story.
Yeah, I love it.
That's great.
Okay, Sarah joined our literacy program.
Yep.
After 1 year, she and 85% of the program participants reported increased confidence in their language skills.
Awesome. That's kind of the same way.
Increased.
After attending a resume writing seminar, 72% of a cohort of 25 unemployed single mothers without high school diplomas were employed within 2 months.
Beautiful. Yeah, nice. Okay, so why data matters in storytelling? It builds trust with funders. When you tell them about your data, it's obvious you're really doing that, you're really working, and you're doing what you're meant to do. It shows real impact. Telling them the numbers, the percentages, it's showing that you're doing something and you're really measuring the outcome. It increases funding chances. If I'm reviewing a grant and I see one with data and I see the other without data, if you're in my shoes, what would you pick? So when you combine story and data, you move from a good idea to a fundable program. You have an idea, but right now we're looking for what to fund, and we can't just give you money without trusting you. But with data, we can trust you that you've done this before and it's working, and we can invest in your program. So at Treetops, we don't just say women feel supported, we measure that 90% of participants report increased confidence navigating resources. So now that we understand how to tell story, data-driven story, let's look at how grant writing has evolved. Okay, I think you've talked about that.
So the first one, we kind of talked about this already, and Trish did a good job covering it. Just feeling the emotions, acting like it's still prior to 2020, and just talking about, using that vague language, overusing one emotional client story. And I've seen this with people where they always go back to like one success story that happened several years ago. What funders want to know is, I'm happy to hear you've had success in the past, but we want to talk about the more recent past as well. And then making the organization the hero instead of community. And we'll get into each of these a little more detail. So, number 1, don't turn your clients into victims. They were brave enough to ask for your help. We need to give them the dignity of providing that in a way that does not center your organization as the hero to the story. And I'm speaking directly to us white people that are online and in the room because we have a tendency to do that. Telling a story that doesn't match. If you continue to recycle the same story over and over and over again, or using the same piece of data over and over again, it may have nothing to do with the program that you're writing about. It may not be the answer that the funder has specifically asked you. That is why you need to consistently collect data regularly, and you need to collect a variety of data so that you have many stories to tell. You're doing a lot at your organization. Very few programs have just one thing that they do. So we want to make sure that we can effectively tell all of our stories. No clear results or next step. The proposal explains the problem. We talk about all of the need in our community. We tell that story. We don't provide any clear outcomes of past things that we've done. We don't talk about objectives, and we don't talk about goals. And otherwise, that just tells the funder you're winging it. You don't have a plan, you're just doing the program to do the program. That's why when you're writing the goals and objectives for your grant, you need to know how you're going to measure the things you say you're going to do, and you need to be able to do the activities you say you're going to do. In my opinion, the goals and objectives and activities section of a grant is the most important, because grant writing is awesome. Getting a grant feels really good. But now the hardest part happens, and you actually have to do the work. That goals, objectives, and activities section is the work. And you need to, and what that will end up being is the data and the story for the next grant. Storytelling examples. So now we're going to have an opportunity to kind of go through some different examples, and I'm going to try to alternate between online and in person to kind of give us feedback. So what I want to do is let's talk about story one. Yeah, I know I write blocks of text for slides and you're not supposed to do that, but I want you to take a minute and read this. So, example A. I'm not going to read it out loud, but I just want to highlight a couple of things. Everyday families come to the New Roots Family Center. I hope that's not a real organization. I Googled New Roots and there was nothing, so I'm hoping that it's not real. They come to set, but they come in tears and overwhelmed. Oh, please. Talk about turning the client into the victim. One mother cried in the office because she did not know where to turn, which shows how urgent the need is. The funding is critical because the suffering is so great and only continues to grow. Example B. We help immigrant families in Lansing who are navigating school enrollment, housing instability, and language barriers. In 2025, the organization supported 186 families, and then it goes through a couple of data points. One mother from Syria shared that before finding New Roots, she missed important school meetings because she could not understand the paperwork sent home. With the help from the bilingual family navigator, she enrolled her children successfully. Which one, you already know my opinion, which one, if you were a grant reviewer, which one tells you more about the organization?
D.
It tells the story, but it also gives you the data. And that's how you blend the two. Okay, so story two. This will be for the online people. Bridgeways Women Collective, founded by a former refugee woman in Columbus, who saw how often newcomer mothers were excluded from workforce services that did not reflect their language, culture, or schedules. They offer peer-led employment coaching, child care support, and English conversation groups designed with the input of the participants themselves. And then it gets into the story of the person. Example B has become a lifeline for refugee women who would otherwise have little hope of finding stability or success. What does that line do?
Makes the organization a hero.
Yep. The organization steps in to guide them, support them, and give them opportunities they could not access on their own. One participant from Afghanistan said Bridgeway changed everything for her and gave her a chance to move forward. Okay, so for those of you who are online, which one, if you were a grant reviewer, tells you more about the organization?
example, right?
What stands out the most?
I think like why it was founded and what it's doing today.
So it gives a little bit of history, talks about current program, and it talks about impact, all in about 3 sentences. Yep.
What's your opinion about you talking about empowerment? Like instead of using the language of like a lifeline, would the word like empower instead of help be impactful?
Yeah, empower. I am not a big fan of making the organization seem like the person's only hope. If a person is emigrated here, whether it be an immigration or a refugee status or whatever, they have already been brave enough and strong enough to come to a whole new country and establish a whole new residence in a culture they know very little about. We are not their lifeline, they are their lifeline. We can help empower them, we can help them understand, we can help them make connections and find community, but we are not their lifeline. They are. Any other questions? Okay, we'll go to the next one. Story 3, after school programming. Hopefully I am again not doing any, I will admit I had ChatGPT find me random names of companies or nonprofits. So I'm praying ChatGPT didn't do me dirty on this. Harvest Path Youth Services is requesting support for its after-school tutoring and school engagement for immigrant middle school students in Grand Rapids. There's no Harvest Path in Grand Rapids. I hope not. If there is, I am not affiliated with them. Last year, 91 students participated, 76% improved attendance or homework completion. One 7th grader who has been missing assignments regularly is now attending consistently and recently told staff, "Now I know who to ask for help before I fall behind." Example B. Harvest Path Youth Services believes in preserving culture through food, dance, and intergenerational storytelling. At its community festival, elders and youth gather to celebrate traditional clothing, music, and shared identity in a joyful environment. One parent said that the event made her feel proud to see her children connected to their roots. This funding will help Harvest Path continue supporting immigrant families. What's the mistake that was made? No data. They're completely different programs. That's why I wrote after-school programming. The grant is for after-school programming. Which one's actually talking about after-school programming? This is why you can't have cut and paste verbiage. You can have some things that you can recycle, but this is why it's important to read every funder's questions and know what you're talking about from the beginning all the way to the end and stay consistent with your data and your storytelling. I can't tell you how many times I've seen people I'll pass something off for editing and they'll say, "We want to tell them about this." That's awesome. We can when we write about that program. This example B is a good start on a story. It is for a completely different grant. Any questions so far? All right. So now we've gone through 3 examples of comparing. So I want to get some feedback, type in the chat or let me know verbally. What would you improve in this example?
The data.
Where specifically would you think you could insert some data?
It could be an exhibit, it could be an attachment, and
What about in here? in the sentence, because this particular funder is a portal that won't allow you to do any attachment. So I have to write my example.
Well, we need the numbers, the percentage of families. Of
Yep.
families.
Many families have benefited.
Because many, you know, it's not.
Right, many. That is so vague. Many could be 10. It could be 100.
Yeah.
150 families, over 100 families. Even the phrase over 100 families is better than many.
Right.
I see where it says the organization works hard to meet community needs and provides resources that improves lives. So just kind of going back to your previous year's statement of what happened in the organization. Right? 94 families came to the program, 86 succeeded at XYZ, providing resources to whatever it is that you do.
Yep, exactly.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
Would be also appropriate if we can point out a certain amount, like an approximate amount of money that we need to fund? Is that?
That would likely be in a different section. A lot of times in grant requests, they will flat out say amount requested. And then in your budget that you do for the grant, then you also break that down even further.
Okay.
So,
Here's
yeah.
an input from the chat.
Yep.
Jenny says the number of families accessing support, identify community needs. And then Daniel says, I would improve this by making it more specific and measurable. The paragraph is too general. It should clearly identify the problem, include data or numbers, and explain exactly how additional funding will create impact.
Yep.
And then another comment says, community needs is too vague.
Yes. What is the community? First of all, who is the community? What is the community? Is it defined geographically? Is it defined by demographic? Because in the city of Grand Rapids, the community could be the African refugee community. And that could be all of Kent County. Or the community could be a specific, it could be Ward 1. It can be different things. So it's important to describe to your funder who knows nothing about you what your community is. That's a good one. Roxy, you've raised your hand like 3 times and keep getting.
She actually, she took the the stage away. So.
All right, I'll get you
No,
first.
it was good. It was good.
I'll get you
information.
first. All right, so let's go to the next one. So, as a grant reviewer, I'm going to critique my own writing because it killed me to have to write this. Number 1, sees heartbreaking situations every day from families who have suffered so much and continue to struggle after arriving in the United States. I mean, really, come on. Yes, they're suffering, but they suffered there too. So they're hurting and they need help. But again, you're making them the victim and your organization the hero. So let's completely scrap that sentence. Many parents are overwhelmed, frightened, and unsure how they will survive. Survive? Really?
Yeah.
If they survived a refugee camp, they're going to be okay here.
Yeah.
The organization does everything it can. Everything it can. Really? No, number 1, that's a lie. Organizations can't do everything under the sun.
No.
So what specifically are they doing? What program are we talking about? One mother came into the office crying again with the crying. Because she did not know how she would care for her children, and staff immediately surrounded her with support. Again, making the organization the hero. This funding is urgently needed so the organization can continue to help. But they're not saying who they're helping other than refugees, crying mothers evidently. And they're not talking about how many people they're helping, and they're not talking about how they're helping.
That's a lot of strikes.
Yeah, like I said, it killed me to have to write this. Any other suggestions?
So it's safe to say that so much and many should just not be included in.
Ever.
Yeah, so it has to be replaced by like a number.
Boom, exactly. So the biggest critique that I give my team that I work with is when I'm doing quality control is I'll highlight something and say too vague, be more specific. Many, so much, a lot.
Yeah.
Any of those can be replaced with a data point, 25%, 300.
Yeah.
Much more specific, much more impactful. Yes, Rex.
More of a question. So basically, replace your filler words with actual data, and they don't straight to the point instead of saying the filler words to make it sound
Yes.
longer.
Yes, excellent.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you're picking it up. So here's something that I was told when I was very early in my grant writing career. I was not young. I did this career change in my 40s. Individual givers, so your donors who write the checks, give from the heart and they give from emotion. Some of these stories might work on them at a gala or something like that. Grant funders give from a business perspective, or they give from their brains. They are weighing risk on investment. Is this this organization that's writing to me a good risk? And what do business people like?
They don't like risk.
They don't like risk. They want data. And how you prove you're a good risk or a low risk to them is you provide them the data that you're doing the work. And that's really where all of this storytelling theme, the overarching theme, is coming from. All right. Anything else you would improve?
Well, my question is there ever a right time to have a sob story in any grant?
Honestly, I've never written one. And at this point in my career, I've submitted over 1,000 applications. I have never, from a person who has done review, I want to know about effectiveness. I think stories that is a sob story in a good way, a positive outcome, like happy tears kind of thing, those should be reserved for galas. They should be reserved for donor letters, things like that. For the immediate, I'm dating myself, write the check real quick and mail it out. Or hit the link in the e-newsletter. That's my hot take. You're welcome to disagree.
What about on your website, if your organization has a website, kind of like as a success story?
I think
maybe?
success stories on websites are a good idea, absolutely. And we want to talk about success stories in our stories, in grants too. But we want the success story to highlight the overall program success.
Well, like what the program did to help make that person a success story.
Yeah, or like the example that was used back here. One person improved their English language skills, and so did 76% of the rest of the people that were in that group too.
Gotcha.
So you're highlighting one person, but telling the story of the whole group.
Even your storytelling should have data behind it,
Absolutely.
whether it's one person or a group full of people.
Yep.
I would like to add that by the time a funder goes into your website to see, they already have, you are already on their radar. So, it's okay to add all that information, make sure that it's concise, because by the time they get there, it means that they are just trying to be fully convinced that you are the right organization to invest in.
So your website does.
So your
hold that
website,
area?
yes.
Okay.
But funders don't use it as, in a way that you think that they're gonna look at it and then consider it. By the time they get there, if they do that, it's because they wanna be fully convinced that they want to use it.
It's more that they're looking, at that point, if I'm hearing you right, they're kind of looking for reasons not to give you the money. Like, you're
Exactly.
already, you're like almost there.
So would you recommend making sure that you've got your website together back before you start doing the grants or?
Don't let it lack a website, at least have a Facebook page.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Consider
Facebook's
the
great.
storytelling piece
I can hear
can
that.
also be
Don't let
used
what?
with pictures,
Like a website.
right? The power of pictures,
Okay.
is huge.
Yeah. Don't let a lack of a website stop you from starting to apply for grants.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
Yeah.
like that wasn't gonna be like a ding, like if your website, I mean, it's not like we don't have one, but there's always something you can improve.
Oh, always.
And I was just wondering like if they look at it and like, oh gosh, that's a terrible website, we're not going to those guys, back it up. So I just want to make sure,
Yeah.
that's
So, but
not
if you're gonna
something.
have it, make sure that, it's better that if you're gonna have a crappy website, just don't have any. Just either all in or just stick to Facebook.
Gotcha.
These Facebook you can cultivate with and it's a free resource. And most people have Facebook. Yeah.
What is lacking where here, if I have to probably do a grant writing, I should be more specific of where the program is going, because with this, there's a lot of situations that make the program may need, but what is the most important, a program that is prioritize the program is what I say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what is actually needed
Yeah.
and what the program is actually doing, you're very right.
Prioritize the program.
It's just very broad.
Yeah.
So,
It's just my addition.
one trick that I used to use if you're worried, because now that we've talked about this, if you're uncertain if something's specific enough or understandable, have someone who really doesn't know a lot about your program read it. Have a friend. Even better, if you have a teenager or a middle schooler in your life, and they'll be honest. They'll be honest. And if they understand what's going on, then you've done a good job. If they don't quite understand it, maybe there's a little bit of rework that can be done. And that is something that will really help you hone your skills, is have a lay person who's not in the trenches, that doesn't know everything you know about your organization. Have them read it. All right, let's talk about the next one. All right, we're done. Okay, so, Trish, you want to come up for questions?
Yeah.
All right, so there were some written questions already. And I want to answer those as much as I can. This was an email that was sent to me last week. So the first question is how to turn real experiences into program data and into a strong grant narrative with clear need, plan, and impact. I think we've done that. We've talked about lots of examples. Okay. Somebody asked to walk away from this workshop with a draft template and reusable framework. We'll work on that. I highly recommend, if you're interested in learning how the different parts of a grant work, the very first grant writing workshop that we did talks about all the pieces and parts. It's online. Yep, it's on the West Michigan Welcome Plan Resources tab.
I will be sharing a follow-up email with the direct link to it. If you need to.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yep. Connect with grant writers to better understand the grant writing process. You can do that if you attend 4 workshops. Find resources, contacts, and guidance on where to begin. Where are the grants? Recorded workshop talks about that. That is again, same place as the first one. And then if you want to attend it live on the 4th quarter. I'll be with you in just a minute. Another person wrote, should I avoid DEI related phrases while accurately describing the work?
If it's federal grant, you better.
Better avoid it or better?
I would avoid it because some people are like, oh my God, it's a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. Let's just leave it at that.
It is. This is tricky. You had a very strong reaction to this when I read it to you, so I'll let you answer it.
Okay.
I'll answer it. Do you want me to?
Okay, answer
Okay,
it.
all right. If you're writing to a private foundation, that read their website, read their priorities. There are foundations in this area and in this country that are specifically looking for organizations doing DEI work. They are going 10 tones deep, even harder and faster because of what's going on in our country. If you are looking at state grants and you're looking at local government grants, you need to know the source of that initial funding to understand how to write to that grant. If you're writing a federal grant, you will have a higher chance of getting funded if you play the game. And that's me treading very carefully. So it is up to you as an organization to follow your ethics on how you want to represent yourself. But do I believe organizations should erase inclusive language from their organization? Absolutely not. You are who you are, you're doing the work you're doing for a reason, continue to do it and follow what feels right. That is why grants, and Holland alluded to this at the very beginning, grants should be a piece of your funding pie. They should not even be 50% of it. Connecting the story to funders' priorities. We talked about this a little bit about all the mistakes people are making sure you are not victimizing your clients, making sure you're not hero-fying your organization, making sure you're sharing a story that actually has to do with the grant you're writing. All important things. Identifying which part of the organization story will be most meaningful to funders and donors. Your organizational history is what it is, but your story doesn't impact the programming. What your goals, objectives, and activities are what you're writing to. So you should focus on that. Most grants have a small section to talk about your history and who you served in the area you served and the founder and all of that. And that's great. You can have a canned response for different lengths, 250 words, 1,000 words, whatever. But the grant shouldn't be about the organization. It should be about the program and the impact it will have on your clients. Knowing when to stop telling the story and how much detail is enough. When you run out of characters, while I hate character and word limits, I would write 30 pages if I wasn't given any, hence my slides. What are your thoughts on that? Yeah. So, we have kind of hit on this a few times. If we can replace the filler words with actual data, you can say a lot in very few words. Yeah. Grant writing storytelling is about saying as much as you can in as few words as possible. It's not about sitting around a campfire and keeping everybody entertained for 20 minutes.
I'll do a shameless plug to our previous workshop, which was leveraging AI for grants, and I would recommend looking at it to know kind of where your guardrails are, and you're not putting anything in AI that you don't want to be in AI. But it's a really great tool for, I have this story and I have this many characters. Please make this story this many characters.
Yeah, and we taught it too, so it's really well done. AI is amazing if you have some standard verbiage you use for example, your organizational history that's 1,000 words long, but this particular grant wants you to do it in 500. AI is really good for condensing something to half the size. But I will always say the caveat, read it, edit it. AI does the beginning work. You're the one who makes it a finished product that actually represents your organization. A large language model cannot and will not likely ever be able to do it.
No personally identifiable information of your clients should ever go in AI.
Never.
Just trying to save my liability.
Or
Oh,
your own organization's proprietary information as well. So
If
there's-
you don't want it known to anybody and everybody in the whole world, you should not be putting it into an AI chatbot. Turning the desire to fund an organization into a clear and compelling grant request. Again, I'll refer you back to the first webinar we did in 2023. That is all the questions that were written. Who has questions for the rest? We have how much time?
You've got plenty of time.
Plenty of time.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll wrap up early. We'll give you guys probably some time back unless questions go for the next 50 minutes, but we'll have an exit survey, so don't run away yet. And we have some closing remarks. So, but take your time with the questions is what I'm trying to say. No, it's when I was closing remarks. Good.
Okay.
What is DEI?
Diversity, equity, and inclusion. It is language that talks about how you as an organization do your best to serve underserved communities. It's very common in organizations that serve primarily specific ethnicities, races, immigration, refugee status, things like that.
Seems that we're language that doesn't really necessarily say DEI, but it's describing DEI work.
Oh, yeah.
I'm absolutely, I really do like some of the language that I've seen.
Yeah,
It's out there.
yeah,
Don't be afraid to use it.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, we serve anyone who walks through the door who needs help is a really great way of saying we're inclusive without saying the word inclusive.
Exactly. Exactly.
So there are ways to say it by adapting language and not losing who you are at the heart of an organization. But there are certain rules that you have to follow with certain types of funding streams, and as an organization, you have to decide if you're going to do that and take that money. There's a lot of federal money that is now requiring or on the cusp of requiring documentation of immigration status. And for a lot of grassroots organizations, that's something they refuse to do, and I don't blame them.
You touched on this a little bit. What's for individual donors? Is it as necessary to have data as much as it is for grants?
I think it's helpful, but I think for some donors, donors are, they some of them give from the heart and they give from a core set of values. And that's why cultivating donors and knowing your donors and knowing you have two or three types of donors is really important. That's that getting to know the process of what they individually will respond to. I think when you are doing, trying to bring new donors into your space, having a good mix. Donors want to know that their money will be used efficiently too, but some people really like the feel-good story. They want to be able to say, I helped. Some donors want to be the hero, so they need to feel like it. So throwing a couple of those stories in sometimes.